joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman.
And I'm Paris Schutz. Here's what we're looking at. A new proposal aims to ease fears of displacement in the wake of the Obama Center construction.
After over 140 days, Hollywood writers and producers reach a tentative deal. A look at the local impact.
And I want our children to know that, because they're our future leaders.
How a local early education organization honors the girls lost in the 1963 bombing of 16th Street Baptist Church in Alabama.
And we go between the threads for a detailed look at a rug tufting class in Bridgeport. And now to some of today's top stories. Striking United Auto workers are getting support from politicians visiting the picket lines.
I wanted to show solidarity with these women and men who are here today. You know, I come from a union family.
Solidarity.
Yes. Raised in a union family. I did not want them to think they're standing out here alone. I might add that my colleague, Senator Duckworth, was in Naperville last Friday. We both feel very strongly about this.
Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois spoke with workers picketing at General Motors in Bolingbrook today. Durbin says while he thinks contract negotiations should remain between the union and the big three automakers, it's reasonable for him and President Joe Biden to show support for the workers. The president is expected to travel to Michigan tomorrow to visit workers on the picket line. Last week, the strike against General Motors and Stellantis expanded to 38 locations, including in Illinois.
Westside officials are urging residents to take advantage of federal emergency management resources to help with flooding damage. Congressman Danny Davis, Chicago Alderwoman Emma Mitz, and others joined together to remind residents on the west side and in suburbs like Cicero and Berwyn they only have a few weeks left to apply for FEMA assistance. This after President Joe Biden authorized an emergency declaration following flooding from storms just before the 4th of July weekend.
I'm really sure that there's a lot more folks who need to take advantage, but haven't done so at this point. And we're really pushing upon that date of October the 16th, which is the cutoff date. And I'm hoping somewhere that maybe we can extend that date.
Cook County has released its first ever transit plan intended to guide how the county will invest money and resources to make transit more convenient and efficient. Though the county doesn't directly operate any transit services, the plan's goals are to increase overall ridership, focus on the needs of transit-reliant communities, and increase the seamlessness of services. Board President Tony Preckwinkle's office says since 2017, the county has awarded more than $8 million in Invest in Cook grants to advance or complete 27 transit projects.
Chicago's largest substance abuse clinic is getting federal money to treat more people with substance use disorder. Senator Dick Durbin, there he is again. He's on hand here to announce $1.3 million in federal grants over the next 5 years to treat the issue, as well as treating 675 new adults with co-occurring substance use and then HIV infections. Haymarket bills itself as the largest center for substance abuse and mental health disorders in Chicago. Recently, WTTW News got a look inside and talked with patients recovering from opioid addiction. Now, Federal Health and Human Services Regional Director Michael Cabanargi says the money will help Haymarket expand its missions.
Recovery is real and possible. 7 in 10 adults who have had a mental health or substance use condition are in recovery. So with SAMHSA and the Biden administration providing the resources, we're excited for the next 5 years.
And coming up in the program, a tentative deal for striking Hollywood writers and producers. What that means for the local film scene.
First, a new proposal aims to address displacement fears near the Obama Presidential Center. That's right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by Alexandra and John Nichols, the Jim and Kay Mabey family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
When Jackson Park was selected to house the Obama Presidential Center in 2016, longtime residents in the neighboring South Shore community feared they would get pushed out of their homes. The fight to protect those residents is back in the City Hall spotlight with a new proposal from 2 alderpeople that would expand protections for neighbors. WTTW News reporter Heather Sharon joins us now with more. Heather, tell us about this proposal. It is from alderpeople Desmond Yancey and Jeanette Taylor.
Well, it's a two-pronged approach to a red-hot real estate market around the soon-to-be open Obama Presidential Center. It is designed to help longtime residents who have owned homes or condos stay in their homes with grants for renovation projects and help paying down property tax debt. And it's designed to vastly expand the stock of affordable housing near the Presidential Center, especially on the biggest city-owned vacant lot in Woodlawn at 63rd, near the Presidential Center. Now, that would cost millions of dollars, and whether it can make it all the way through the City Council is, of course, the open question.
Of course it is. So we know this fight goes all the way back to 2016 when former President Barack Obama chose Jackson Park for his presidential center and library. How did this get started?
Well, that announcement triggered the formation of a coalition designed to pressure the former president's foundation to enter into what's called a community benefits agreement, which would have required the foundation to put some of these protections in place to ensure that longtime residents weren't pushed out. Now, the foundation resisted that, saying all of those provisions were contained in its agreement with the city and the park district when it sort of took over the land. That wasn't good enough for many community groups who worry that this center, while perhaps catalytic for the south side of Chicago, could come at the expense of longtime Black residents.
And of course, after years of delays, construction on this center, it has passed the halfway mark as of this summer, slated to open in 2025. But are we already seeing changes in Woodlawn and South Shore?
We are. Now, an agreement under former Mayor Lori Lightfoot put some of these protections in place for Woodlawn, and residents say they are working, that gentrification in Woodlawn has slowed significantly since the 2020 agreement, and now these two older people want those same protections in place for South Shore. The question is, if South Shore is already, as they say, ground zero for Chicago's housing crisis in its Black neighborhoods, is it too late, and will it be enough?
Original plans for this center also included plans to combine the 18-hole Jackson Park and 9-hole South Shore golf courses into a single PGA Tour caliber course. Where does that stand now?
Well, it really sort of fell off the radar amid the years of delays caused by federal review and then, of course, a little thing called the COVID-19 pandemic. So there does not seem to be much movement on these plans for the golf course. And a spokesperson for the Obama Foundation told me today they are just focused on getting the center open in 2025.
After all those delays, I'll bet they are. Heather Sharon, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brandis.
And you can read Heather's full story on our website. That's WTTW.com/news.
Hollywood is back in business, almost. Writers Guild of America workers reached a tentative agreement with Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, ending a 146-day strike that reverberated right back here in Chicago. And now eyes are on the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists Workers, who are still negotiating their contract. And joining us are Courtney Rue, an actor and a national board member for SAG-AFTRA. She's also on the negotiating committee for the union's contract. Tony Baraka, business manager and secretary-treasurer with IATSE Local 476. And via Zoom, Zaid Ayers-Dorn, a strike captain with WGA. He's also a writer, professor, and director, and an MFA in writing and screen and stage at Northwestern University. We also reached out to AMPTP, but we did not receive a response to our request. We do thank you all for joining us here. Zaid Ayers-Dorn, how do you feel about this tentative agreement here?
We're feeling pretty excited. I mean, of course, we haven't seen all the details of the agreement yet, but I think our negotiating committee has built up a lot of goodwill and trust among the members. So when they say this is an exceptional deal, that makes us all feel very optimistic about what it's going to look like.
Why do you think it came down right now after 146 days? What precipitated this?
Well, I think it's because of the 146 days. I think it became clear to the studios that the writers' solidarity was strong and was not going to be broken or eroded in any way. I also think it's because of the solidarity between unions, between the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA and IATSE and the Teamsters. The fact that all these unions, all these workers in the industry came together to support one another. I think eventually the AMPTP realized this was doing them more harm than good, and they had to get it settled.
And we have two members of some of those other unions. First of all, Courtney Rue, you've got your own contract issues out right now with SAG-AFTRA. So does this give your union momentum?
Yes, absolutely. It gives us momentum, and we're cautiously optimistic as well, as Zaid said. And we've been on strike since July, and we haven't seen the deal yet that Zaid has been talking about, but we have some similarities and we also have some differences, just because writers need different things than actors, and I'm really hoping we could get back to the table as soon as possible.
And Tony Baraka, back here in Chicago, you know, there's all those productions, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Studio City, they do it, or Cinespace Studios. So what happened to all your workers during this period?
Well, it was on May 13th when I got called to the set. Teamsters were leaving their vehicles. The WGA set up their strike line, their picket line, and the members of Local 476 and the IATSE stood with them. We're unified, and we know that it's going to take a group effort, and the hardworking members we're taking our lumps for it, but we know that this is the right thing to do, and we feel like there has to be some movement on with inflation and everything that we're faced with, and we needed to stand together to make that point, and we've done that.
And Zaid, you know, I know you don't want to get into specifics here until this is ratified or voted on by the full union, but so much was talked about with AI and how much leeway the studios were going to get with AI, and fears that they're going to replace not only writers but actors. What can you say about those concerns right now?
Well, I can say that when we first started this strike, we had a number of core concerns. I think 5 or 6 core concerns that we brought to the studios to say, you know, these are existential issues, not just for writers, but for actors, issues about the sustainability of the industry and of the profession. And at first, the AMPTP refused to negotiate on over half of those core issues. They just said, those are non-starters, we're not going to talk about them. Now, 146 days later, we're hearing that we've made significant progress on every single one of our core issues. So again, we'll have to wait to see the details. The lawyers are working on the language right now. I think we'll start to see stuff tomorrow and Wednesday. But in the meantime, I think we can say that we have made an enormous amount of progress. And I really hope that whatever progress the writers have made, the actors of SAG-AFTRA and eventually IATSE, the Teamsters, can all, you know, use this as one more step along the way of building a kind of a workers' movement in the industry and get the gains that everybody deserves.
Courtney, remind us the big sticking points with SAG-AFTRA.
Yeah, same with the WGA in terms of wanting to raise the minimums so that we can keep up with inflation, as well as the AI concerns that we have not being replaced by computers. We also have some self-tape regulations that we're asking for, and streaming residuals is another one that we're asking for. And
you're basically about to get back to the table for negotiations. So clearly this has maybe stepped the process up a little bit.
Yes, well, we could go back. We could have gone back the day after we went on strike, and we were ready and willing to. It's the AMPTP that invites us back, and we're glad that they invited the WGA back, and they got a good deal, and now we're just waiting again till they invite us back to the table.
And Tony Baraka, you talked about the importance of solidarity with some of your members and the Teamsters. How did you keep your members afloat during this time? Again, this is work that they depend on at some of these Chicago studios.
Yeah, it's been a tough ride for a lot of us. You know, the indirect impact with the community, just on the services that this business has required from you know, with purchasing and renting, but the members of Local 476 have had to find other means to make ends meet. You know, health insurance is a big issue. You fall off coverage without contributions, and we're doing everything possible. We had a food drive today. Post the news that we got yesterday with the WGA, it was a good event, and we're setting up hardship funds through the local and the Entertainment Community Fund. Also, we are letting our members go into their retirement if they have to get through the rough times.
How about your members, Zaid? How tough has this been on them? I mean, actors and writers all know that there are going to be periods that perhaps they're out of work, but how much more difficult was this?
It's been really tough. It's been tough, but I think you put your finger on it. I think there's been a dark joke going around on the picket line about how the studios have spent the last 10 years training writers and actors to figure out how to go 6 months to a year without working, because they have, in so many cases, transformed our work into this kind of gig economy model where they can hire writers for 10 weeks and then fire them before production even starts, leave them looking for the next job. So yeah, writers are used to spending some time, not working. And so we do have to find other ways to bridge those gaps. And as Tony was saying, we know that this has also been hard for our sibling unions. And we're very determined to be there for them when they have their own labor actions. And we really do appreciate the solidarity they've shown us.
Yeah, same question for you, Courtney. How are you keeping some of your members afloat? I mean, the general public might say, actors, celebrities, they make millions and millions of dollars, but the vast majority of SAG-AFTRA workers are working class.
Yes, there's about 1% in the union that are celebrities that are making millions of dollars. The rest of us are, some of us are out of work, even not on strike. And I think it's also important to know that we're all in solidarity together, because it is a threat to the existence of all of us as workers. If there are no writers, if there are no actors, there's nobody to do our hair and makeup and to feed us on set. And so the replacement of us from AI hurts IATSE and Teamsters as well. There's going to be no vans to drive us around.
It reverberates across many, many different professions.
Yes.
Tony Baraka, when do you think production is going to start flaring up now? I mean, assuming that this gets ratified.
Well, the smoke signals are pretty good right now. We're getting a lot of calls from producers. They're reaching out to our members, seeing if those crews are still available and wanting to come back. We're hoping if SAG-AFTRA gets their tentative agreement, hopefully sooner than later, that it could be a couple weeks. There are some shows, productions that are ready to prep, that we can start actually working before the writers and the actors have to get involved. So some will be right away, some will be 4 weeks, some could be as early as 2 weeks.
Zaid, what about you? When do you think some of your writers are going to be going back, and does it suggest that maybe some of those talk shows, late night shows might come back first, as SAG-AFTRA still is out on strike?
Yeah, I think that is what will happen. I mean, of course, we still have to see the deal. We still have to vote for ratification, but I anticipate that being a pretty easy process. So I think writers will start to go back to work in the next 10 days, 2 weeks, maybe even earlier than that. And yeah, right away, you'll see the late night shows come back, the ones that are in a different SAG contract. As soon as their writers are ready to go, those shows will be ready to go. And yeah, I think Tony's right. It's going to be like landing a lot of planes at the same time, trying to figure out where production can start, what's ready to prep, what's ready to go. It'll be complicated for a little while, but I'm hopeful if SAG-AFTRA can, get the deal they deserve, that the industry will be back up and running in the fall.
Are you hopeful SAG-AFTRA can get the deal it deserves?
I'm very hopeful, yeah.
All right. Well, after all of this, the show eventually must go on, and it looks like it might. And our thanks to Zaid Ayers-Dorn, Courtney Rue, and Tony Baraka for sharing all of this with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And up next, how a local organization is honoring the girls killed in the bombing of an Alabama church. So please stay with us.
The September 15, 1963 bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, killed 4 young girls and shocked the country, becoming yet another galvanizing event for the civil rights movement. In Chicago, the name of one of those 4 little girls has graced an early education and youth development organization since 1976. And every 5 years, they rededicate themselves to carrying on the girls' legacy. Producer Erica Gunderson has a story.
The Carol Robertson Center for Learning has honored the memory of the little girl it's named for by giving some of Chicago's youngest learners a solid start to their educations.
We have our Basis K program, which is bridging academically, social, emotional support and preparing kids for kindergarten. Giving them that language, right? Giving them that regulation, giving them ability to be able to think about how they feel and be able to express those thoughts. You're definitely going to see children enjoying learning, and you're going to see children playing and being delightful and excited.
Every year, the center holds ceremonies and social justice activities in remembrance of Carol Robertson, Addie Mae Collins, Cynthia Wesley, and Carol McNair. The 4 little girls were killed in a 1963 white supremacist attack on the 16th Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. Carol Robertson's sister Diane Robertson Braddock says when a group of Chicago parents asked her family for permission to name their new after-school program to honor Carol, they were intrigued.
We are a family of educators, and we know the importance of education and a safe environment for children. And we were very, very happy. And I'll never forget that my mother just cried, after she made the decision that we would allow the program to use Carol's name. I think that it meant so much to my mother.
Program specialist LaToya Hazard says the girls' legacy continues to serve as a guiding light for the center.
Every year we have Legacy Week, right? And that pays homage to the 4 little girls and make sure that we're always educating and enriching our families on those social justice issues, so we don't forget. I want our children to know that, because they're our future leaders.
Robertson Braddock says she and her family have been proud to watch the center's growth over the years.
I think that when we have information about each other, we feel differently about each other. We care for each other in a different way. And that's what the center embeds, finding those areas that bind us together.
The Carol Robertson Center was started just from an after-school program, and that was 40-something years ago. But now, look, we have Birth Through a 5 program. We have the after-school program. We have the summer program as well. We have family support specialists. We have the home visiting program. So just the fact that we came so far and to be able to serve this underprivileged community for so many years is a big thing.
For Chicago Tonight, this is Erica Gunderson.
And there's more information about the Carol Robertson Center for Learning and its programs on our website. Paris, back to you.
Brennis, thanks very much. If you've ever wanted to make your own rug, we might have the place for you. Arts correspondent Angel Ito recently introduced us to a tufting class in Bridgeport that aims to bring more fun to the South Side. Here's another look.
I really love the neighborhood. I really want to bring something more fun to Bridgeport.
With a simple desire, Ernie Pun called her now business partner Susan Lee, and Freestyle Ceramics was born.
We first start with a ceramic because a ceramic is have no age limit.
Less than a year later, Pun and Lee expanded beyond ceramics to include freestyle tufting, a new art class concept that allows anyone to make their own rug.
We got a lot of phone calls after 1 month we started tufting that people were like, oh, so I'm trying to book online, but you guys are no availability. Yeah.
What started at 8 seats quickly expanded to 24.
You see the yarn here should be always tracing on top of the marker. So that's how you follow exactly. And then that's the part that you really want to do tap, 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 and don't press and hold. Okay. Otherwise it's going way too fast for you to follow, okay? Tap, and you turn the gun along the way. Are you ready for the fun part?
Yes, I am.
Ready to try?
I am.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous, but I'm ready.
All right.
Each session begins with a practice tutorial to ensure every tufter feels comfortable with the tufting gun.
So you just push in, okay?
I just kind of wanted to see the difference. What do we think?
Very good. Your first time?
Yes. Is that tight? Is that because that was more like this one,
yes.
right?
Again, there's no right or wrong. the gun we use is also the newest in the market. If you don't use the gun correctly, it's easy to poke holes of the fire bit. So like we have the ability to fix any of those issues.
After finishing the tutorial, the tufter sketches their image with the help of a projector, and then it's off to the races.
Okay, we're set.
With the smallest size offered taking about 3 hours to complete, Pun says the only requirement to do well is to have fun.
Oh my gosh, this actually looks really good.
One thing about tufting is you don't really have to be an artist in order to make it happen.
Oh my gosh, this is beautiful.
For Chicago Tonight, I'm Angel Ito.
Thought I saw that in the office somewhere. Rug tufting begins at $68 with a $10 studio fee. We have much more information on our website.
You saw it in Angel's office. It's in Angel's
Probably.
office. And that's our show for this Monday night. Don't forget to stay connected with us by signing up for our daily briefing. And you can get Chicago Tonight streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and our website, WTTW.com/news.
And you can also get the show via podcast in the PBS video app and join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 10. And now for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Paris Schutz.
And I'm Brandis Friedman. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that is proud to be a multilingual law firm that provides translators for a variety of languages.